Did you know that the episode you are about to listen to is available on YouTube as a full multi-camera experience? Search for the Murder Police podcast channel on YouTube. Subscribe and see what you have been missing.
So I was like, okay. So as I'm standing there talking to him, right, about this, the voice comes back to me again. And I could feel it, like right here. And it said, shake his hand. And I was just like, oh, why do I got to shake? You know, I'm thinking this. I'm not speaking it out loud. I'm thinking, why do I have to shake his hand?
Warning. The podcast you're about to listen to may contain graphic descriptions of violent assaults, murder, and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Murder Police podcast, The Vanishing of Michael Keith Gorley. What are they hiding? Part 2 of 3, with Michael's mother, Sandra Hasty, and his sister, Jennifer Gorley Coffey.
I told her never come back to my house ever again.
I got you.
So when they knocked on the door, I said, what do you want? It's Michael. I said, what's wrong? She said, well, I need to tell you something. So I let her in, and then this other one comes down. I said, who's that? Oh, that's my friend. But I had heard, Michael didn't know this friend. Okay. And so I said, well, I'll have to ride out there with y'all, I guess, which I hated to because I couldn't stand either one of them.
Are they just bad news? Is it just
bad news?
Well, the one that she's talking about was in and out of prison. So anybody from this area would know that person.
Yeah, we won't name them, but
yeah, we don't mention people's names. But if you're from this area, you would know her history.
So you keep people like that
That's
at a
why
distance.
I feel like something might have happened to Michael out there.
Yeah.
Where the truck was in the pond.
Mm-hmm. On Wilderness Trail Road at the end. Okay,
correct.
Good deal.
Yep.
And again, Lincoln County, because that's...
Yep.
And the friend that Mom's talking about, I agree, when I walked into her house to pick up my daughter that day, they're telling this story, and I'm thinking, who's this lady? I never seen her before in my life, The other one I was familiar with, but the friend that she brought, the tag-along, never seen her before that day. It was the first time ever.
Interesting. Much after, and as time moved forward, did this new friend stay in the area, or?
Well, she's deceased now.
Oh.
Actually, both of the females that came to Mom's house that day have passed away.
I had nothing to do with it.
No.
One was in Florida and one was in California when they died.
Hey, nothing without a lawyer, right? Exactly.
Right.
Right. You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
I haven't said that in a few years. So, wow, okay. And that's another thing where we're going to get to on this is that, y'all got to wonder what information was taken to a grave twice now, because they would be central people to this. I would imagine.
The one where the truck was in the pond, he was the first one to go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He wasn't out of jail, not even 48 hours, died of a heroin overdose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jennifer had already...
You heard.
We know.
Well, I say supposedly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's hearsay.
But probably like...
Anyway, Jennifer had already told me because a certain person told her.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got a message from a certain detective that said, so-and-so's dead.
Okay.
I said, overdose? He said, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
They said apparently. And I said, oh, well, the devil's jumping with joy tonight. He said, yes, he is.
Yeah. Yeah. The overdose thing is just such a real problem. So it's...
Any of them that died and did not tell what they did with my son.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of hope for them.
I don't need...
I think people who have listened to me before, I don't have a lot of hope for their spiritual condition, right? Yeah, I just, go into the grave with something that leaves so much pain behind on a family, that's a sin. That's a sin. It's an unforgivable sin for man. Now, God can forgive that, but I'm with you. That's they're probably warmer than most of us are right now too for going like that. So we've got that. So what's cool too is you've got a family witness that contradicts their story that he's acting different and weird. That's a pretty powerful thing on this far as state of mind and everything. And again, that even makes it more of a mystery of how a vehicle winds up in a pond or the first part of it.
I don't think he drove the truck in the pond.
Exactly.
That's why I wonder if something happened to him out there, and they paid the one on 300.
Yeah.
Makes
you wonder. I thought about it too. The last couple of years, it makes you wonder too that people aren't smart. It's like, did somebody try to put it in the pond thinking it would sink and not be seen? You know what I'm saying?
They didn't realize it. They didn't realize it.
No.
It was
well,
on
the
front
smell
wheel
of the
drive.
gas. I remember it being so strong, and I thought, I didn't even want Mom driving it because I thought this sucker, one little poof could be gone. You know?
Did it look burned or anything, or like anybody tried to light it on fire or anything like that, or
not from what I could tell.
I think they did because the back, the hatch was open.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we can't sink it, so we're going to burn it, but.
Well, that's submerged in the water.
See, there we go. That makes you wonder: was somebody trying to do something with the truck to make it unrecognizable? Or, and I say that about water because people are stupid and they don't understand how shallow water can
ignorance.
be.
They're right up with.
That's a mystery, honestly.
It is.
That truck would not have sunk all the way down that pond. Put it
no,
that
it couldn't.
way.
It couldn't.
The hood would have been showing.
A lot of questions around that there. When I go back and think about it, like. Did Michael? I just have a hard time believing that Michael drove the truck in the pond. Honestly, I don't think he did.
And drove it and then just vanished. Right? I mean, this is
vanished.
This is the stuff I've thought about in the last couple of years since we talked.
Yeah.
Is that it's rooted through mine too.
But the only thing that makes you go, because he did go to Grandma, so he was aware that the truck was in the pond.
Any idea what time he was at
Grandma's?
Grandma's?
And he was looking for someone to pull it out.
Okay.
So I had went and
he was with the same two females that came to my house.
Okay. So that's something that
did,
Grandma or somebody at the Grandma's house
they dropped Michael off at
the place
on
Grandma was there and two of my uncles were there. I talked to both of my uncles. So they both confirmed it.
Oh, I don't think we got that much detail last time. So that fills in some blanks now.
And so I'm like, okay. I mean, Michael was aware that it was in the pond, so we know that was confirmed. He wasn't acting out of sorts. He wasn't high. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't acting crazy.
That's important. That's important.
He was alert. He knew what he was doing.
So he's confirmed alive.
But then the question is, well, who really drove the truck in the pond? Yeah. It was in the pond, but who put it there? I don't think Michael did.
I think they were trying to sink the truck, but it's on front wheel drive.
Yeah.
And they got stuck in the mud.
Yeah. Yeah, ponds are really spongy. They'll grab a hold of anything pretty quick. That's interesting. Like I said, I don't know if I knew that detail from before that you had to. That adds to the timeline quite a bit. So to pick it up from there, he at Grandma's got solid witnesses. He's fine. State of mind's fine. He knows the truck's in a pond. Okay, where do we go from there? That you know of, or what you believe happened.
So after we got the truck pulled out of the pond. I'm like, we need to take this truck to my house. Well, for one, I was concerned Mom driving it. I was like, we need to check this truck out. Plus, it smelled like gas. I was worried about it catching on fire. So, and Mom's a smoker.
I drove it back there.
So anyway, we took it to my
house. The windows down,
but
I mean, the windows down.
And I live in Parksville. She was living in McKinney at the time, and it's a pretty good stretch from Parksville to McKinney.
Okay.
So when we took her home, it was getting pretty late. And she had called when the two females had come to tell about the truck being in the pond. They had told Mom that they had dropped Michael off at this house on Noblick Road, Highway 300.
So that's their statement.
Right. Yeah. Because we were like, okay, the pond, the truck's in the pond at this house. Where is Michael? And they said that they had dropped him off at this house with a friend, and he was with this particular friend. So we're like, okay, we'll figure out a way to get the truck out. So that's what we did. You know, we went, after my husband got off work, we went out there. It took us a while to get it out. It wasn't easy, you know, because he had to call a buddy to come out with his truck, and they tugged and pulled and all kinds of stuff. We finally got it out.
It was 11 o'clock when we were going to
Drove
your
it to
house.
my house, and then we were taking Mom home to McKinney, and she called the person to let Michael know that we had got the truck out.
Okay, so now we're into 11 p.m.?
Well, it
roughly?
wasn't exactly 11. I think it was close to 11.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you're ballpark.
Yeah.
Dark?
It was
In the
dark,
evening.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
And you make that phone call.
Mm-hmm. And Mom called and to tell that person to let Michael know that we had got the truck out.
Didn't get to talk to Michael, though, right?
Nope.
Did they, when you made that phone call, did they say anything to you when you made that phone
Michael
call?
was there.
Right. Okay, we're good. Great timeline.
But
that
then
he's
the
there.
next day when, you know, because usually he'd bring Michael home, you know, and Michael didn't come home.
Okay.
So I tried to call him, he wouldn't answer. Tried to call him again, wouldn't answer. So I messaged him. Where's Michael? Don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? He was at your house. Yeah, but he left walking. I said, what time? Between 8 and 9 last night. I said, hold up, buddy. I talked to you at 11.
Okay.
And you said Michael was there. How did he come and take off walking at 8 and 9 o'clock?
That's a big contradiction.
Then when we found out where he lived, because we didn't even know where he lived, we went to get gas. It was called Dawn's back then. All right. These two females just so happened to show up at Dawn. Oh, what are you doing? I said, we're going to go look for Michael. I said, we got to figure out where this boy lives. Oh, just follow us and we'll take you out there. It's almost like they were right there watching what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had called.
They were at Dawn's. They said we're at Dawn's too.
So, okay. So whenever Mom, let's go back to the phone call.
Yeah,
because that's important.
Mm-hmm.
When Mom called to tell this person to let Michael know that we had got the truck pulled out of the pond, and it was a little bit before 11 at night, this person told Mom that yes, Michael was there, but he was acting out, and he was getting on his nerves, and that he was going to beat his ass. And, of course, Mom's in the back seat, because we're taking her home. I'm in the front, and I'm, like, keyed in on this conversation. Sure. Like, you know, plus I'm still, you know, a little bit not knowing exactly who drove the truck in the pond. I was kind of like, how could Michael drive a truck in the pond? You know, I'm a little bit upset with the whole ordeal, honestly. I've spent my whole Sunday pulling this truck out of a pond, and I don't even know what's going on, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, but this person told Mom that Michael was there, he was acting out, he was getting on his nerves, that he was going to beat his ass or whatever, and so we took Mom home, dropped her off, got home. I mean, it was, you know, it was a little bit late at night, and I had to work the next morning. So,
did Michael have a
But you
cell
didn't hear
phone?
Michael there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but never heard Michael talking.
So he never
talked to Michael.
Yeah. Again,
Nothing.
that struck me as odd, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're adults.
Right.
And again, Michael did or didn't have a cell phone of his own?
He had only been out of jail for 5 days.
Okay, gotcha.
So the cell
he hadn't
phone
even
that
got
he
minutes
had
yet.
did not have minutes on it, so it wasn't
Okay.
activated. I don't know if he could have called 911 from that phone or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Most
but
of
he
you
couldn't
can.
use it to call somebody.
Yeah, I was just looking to make
But
sure
the
we're
truck,
clear
the
on why
phone was in
Yeah.
the truck, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just making sure we're clear on why somebody was talking for Michael, which makes it even more confusing and
Right.
difficult because then you don't have that last contact and everything.
Right.
So, strange stuff. So he's talking about beating his ass, right?
I know that the registration that I had in the console looks like it had a fingerprint of blood on it. And, of course, I, took it out, put it in a plastic bag, and I gave it to the detective to determine.
Right.
So,
So they
never
have
heard
that.
nothing about it.
Yeah. And you know how that goes, is that there's very little they'll share during an investigation.
Yeah.
It's just the way that
he's
works.
not supposed to. I understand that.
Do the police have his Explorer? Do they have the truck? Is that...
No,
It's parked in my
it's still
backyard.
in the backyard
Okay,
at Jennifer's.
gotcha. He's still there, too. So, did
No,
y'all
when
find
they
anything...
came to take... Okay, we stopped a trooper in McKinney when we were coming out and told, explained to him that, Michael was missing this and that. And he told us he was getting off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we got the truck home and all that, and I get back to the house, I called KSP again because Lincoln County would not even take a missing person report.
Oh, you called them and they said no?
They said no.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
What did they say? Did they say because it happened in another county or he went missing from another county?
No, he went missing in Lincoln County.
Yeah, but they just weren't going to take a report.
So they told me to call Kentucky State Police, so I did.
Okay.
Well, I said I already talked to a trooper. Well, then, 2 o'clock in the morning, here come another trooper. This man did not want his shoes or hat that we found. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to process the truck. So nothing made no sense to him. I said, how does a missing person make any sense to anybody?
Yeah, let's back. So we might be having some blanks on this just to keep it in line too. So now, when you go and you clearly, if you're going to report him missing, now you all are starting to think something's really just wrong.
Well, that night, even after Mom talked to the person on the phone, we still had no reason to believe that Michael was missing or in danger of any sort or anything like that.
Well, he's an adult.
I mean, yeah, Michael could take care of himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did he ever come and go like that before? Is it? I mean, because as I got older, I mean,
he
I
might
just
go
didn't
off
stay in
for a
contact with
couple
my
of
mom and
days,
dad that
but
much.
he'd be back home.
Okay,
you
gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
he's a grown.
So
He was
again,
38 years old. He's a man.
Mm-hmm. What point? What was it that probably tipped the edge for one or both of you that now something is? You're going, this is unusual for him. What was it? Do you remember what that moment was? Or
well, it was the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
I was at work, and I had a voice that came to me.
Okay.
And I remember it. It was on my left side, and it was kind of like very loud. And it said, "Find Michael." And I was like, "Find Michael? Okay. That's kind of odd." So I just go back to work, and, it said again, "Find Michael." And I'm like, okay, I need to find Michael. I'm at work. I'm going to find Michael when I'm at work. I was like, this is kind of odd. I go back to work, and again, I said again, "Find Michael." It was like very stern, like, do this,
Yeah.
Very loud, very stern. So I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, I'll find Michael when I get off work. Can't do it right now, And then right after that, I was like, this is kind of odd. So I called Mom. I said, "Mom, is Michael there?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, where's he at?" She said, "Well, I don't know. He didn't come home last night." I was like, okay. Well, what about this person whose house he was at? Is he still there? Or, I know the guy said something about wanting to beat his ass. Like, what happened with all that? Did anything come of it? Whatever. She said, "I don't know. Let me see if I can get a hold of him." And so she started calling and texting and trying to get a hold of this person and trying to find out, if Michael was still there and whatnot. And I told Mom, I said, well, you see if you can get a hold of him, and when I get off work, I'll try to get a hold of my grandmother, my uncle, just people that I knew that Michael would be in contact with.
Gotcha.
And see if they had talked to him or heard from him or anything. And then when I got off work that day, I called my grandmother, called my uncle. None of them had heard from Michael or talked to him. They had seen him the day before when he came out looking for somebody to pull the truck out of the pond, but they hadn't seen or heard from him since then. And so I called Mom back, and Mom said, well, something ain't right. She said they're giving conflicting information, changing stories about, because she had talked to this person the night before, and he said, yeah, Michael was there. And it was 11 o'clock. And she said, now he's trying to say Michael left walking between 8 and 9. I was like, well,
that's a huge conflict.
That don't even match up.
No.
That don't even sound right. You know, I was like, well, we need to go look for Michael. We need to find him.
Did that voice sound familiar at all? Was there anything about it that sounded like somebody you knew or known or?
No, I've thought about that 100 times, honestly. And I even talked to my uncle
your
about
daddy
it.
or mom had talking to you.
He said, well, it's probably your dad. And I said, no, it wasn't. It was not my dad's voice. It was not Michael's voice. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was God talking because it was very loud. It was very stern. And it was kind of like right here in my face.
Yeah.
Like, do this. Don't ask questions. It was kind of like that.
Have you ever had that before or
Never.
since?
Never in my life.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I would never doubt that.
Yeah.
By the way, it just experiences in my life. I'd never doubt that. Yeah, there was a message there for sure.
So, Mom had started calling around that day to try to get a hold of the person where Michael was supposed to have been at. And he, was given conflicting information, saying that he had left there walking between 8 and 9, which we knew, that we had just talked to the same person where Mom had the night before at 11, and he was supposedly there. And that he was, Michael was getting on his nerves and he was going to beat his ass. And now the very next day, supposedly Michael left walking between 8 and 9.
Gotcha.
Heading towards Junction. So I told Mom to get a hold of the 2 females that supposedly took Michael to this friend's house.
They have the answers.
And find out where this friend lived at so that we could go there and look for Michael herself. And I do believe before Mom could call them, they called her.
Okay.
And they wanted to know where we were at.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, well, they want to know where we're at. Well, we want to know where Michael's at.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mom said, well, we're going to go look for Michael. We need to know where this house is. And they said, well, where are you at right now? And she said, well, Jennifer just picked me up and we got to stop and get gas and then we need to find out where this house was. But when I had left work that day, I had to stop and pick my kids up because they had got off the bus at my husband's aunt's house. And then I had to drive out to McKinney to pick Mom up. When I got to McKinney that day, there was a state trooper car parked right beside the road I had to turn on to get to her house. And before that day, as many times as I'd been to Mom's house, I'd never seen a state trooper in that area. So it's kind of like, okay, this is a little odd here. So I went up and got Mom, and I told Mom, I said, well, there's a state trooper down at the bottom of the road. I said, if he's still there when we get back down the road, maybe we need to stop and talk to him. Just explain to him what's going on about how, basically what all had happened up to that point and see what we needed to do about it. So we stopped and talked to that trooper, and he took down information that we gave him about Michael. He asked a lot of questions. I now realize I think he was trying to figure out if it would be any of the alerts, if it would meet one of the alert criteria.
You have to take it up to the next level.
Trooper Jonathan Walls. Very nice man.
Because he was asking us questions like if Michael had any mental health conditions or
That's what
anything
he's
like
doing.
that. And we were like, no, but this is what we know up to this point, and we think something might be wrong. And so he took down all that information. I felt better after talking to that officer because I thought, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen from this point, but at least we've already talked to the police, So we left there. We went to the gas station, and that's where we met up with 2 females. The first thing I noticed about these 2 females was that the day before, when they were at Mom's house, they both looked very grungy.
What do you mean by grungy?
Grungy as in they look like they hadn't took a bath or kept themselves very well.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? When they met with us at the gas station, they both looked like they had been freshly showered. They had on nice clothes. They had their hair fixed. They had on makeup and all of this. And I just thought that was really odd. It was kind of a red flag for me because I'm thinking the story they gave us that Michael was high and acting crazy and doing all this crazy stuff, driving the truck in the pond, and they dropped him off at the friend's house and this and that. And then I look at them and they look like they're ready to go out for a night on the town, but yet they've been dealing with Michael acting crazy. It just kind of didn't match.
Where was the gas station at that you met him? Which gas station?
Well, then it was called Don's Marathon.
Okay.
It's changed owners a couple times.
Is it right there in Junction City?
No,
it's
still in.
Yeah.
Stanford.
Between Junction and
it's in Stanford city limits,
gotcha.
not after you leave Balkan.
Okay.
So we stopped there to get gas. Red flag right off the bat when I seen them.
Mm-hmm.
This is two different looking people here from what I seen yesterday, So anyway, we were like, well, we need to know where this house is. We need you to show us where this house is so we can go look for Michael. And they started talking about one of the last people that'd seen Michael. I was familiar with the person they talked about because we had gone to high school with that person.
Okay.
And anyway, so we left the gas station. We followed behind them. They took us out Highway 300 Knoblich Road, showed us where the house was. And when we got there, they pulled up in the driveway. We pulled up behind them. Nobody was home. Nobody was in the yard. There was no activity going on.
Gotcha.
They actually told us he wouldn't be home. Remember?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Stop there! Get on the ground! Use the car as cover! Taser, taser, taser!
The gunshot.
Oi!
The scream. The crooks, the crash. The cops fighting for their lives. First-hand accounts you won't hear anywhere else.
Put the gun down!
Persons of Interest Season 2, out now.
So when we got out, Mom first went to the ditch line on the left. And there was tire tracks in the ditch line, and she kept looking at that, looking up and down the ditch line. I kept wanting to go back towards the shed in the backyard area. I don't know why. There was where the house was, there was this plank fence went around the house. There was a wooden shed right here on the property. Behind that was just a huge open field. Right. I guess maybe they planted corn there. I believe it might have been corn because it had the corn stalk, when they cut the corn off, the corn stalks were stuck out of the ground about that far.
Yeah.
Just fields and fields of that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the grass and the weeds, it was May. Anyway, so I was trying to look behind where that fence was to see if I could see anything out through the field area, And I didn't see nothing. And I kept trying to go up towards the shed, and the more I would walk up towards the shed, these same two females would just start talking really fast and just saying random stuff. Oh, no. He left. He went going that way. He went to Junction. He did this. He did that. He had a pocket full of money. He had all this stuff. This one lady that I'd never met before in my life would not stop talking.
So you think that you think they were distracting you to try to keep you from getting up?
I think that she was, because she was just talking in circles.
Yeah.
I remember her saying Michael had a pocket full of money, and I remember looking at her like, no, he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he had a pocket full of money, he wouldn't have left walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't make no sense. So I really wasn't listening to a lot of what she was saying because, one, I didn't know who she was, and for two, it's like, you don't even know what you're talking about because that don't even make sense. The other one that we knew who she was acting really nervous too. Like I said, the more I try to walk up towards the shed area in the backyard, the more they kind of would talk fast and kind of shoo me back towards the Junction area.
Could you see any tire tracks coming up to the shed or out in that field or anything? Did anything jump out like the ground had been disturbed or anything? Or
from what I could see at that point, no.
Gotcha.
But they stood right there to where I couldn't really access it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Mom kept looking at the tire tracks in the ditch line. Mm-hmm. That's what she focused on.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to look to see if I could see Michael laid out in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was doing that on the right side because if they said he left walking towards Junction, first of all, everybody knew Michael.
Right.
If anybody seen him, they'd say, hey, you need a ride?
Mm-hmm.
But, and then there, all of a sudden, here comes, the person riding a bike back and forth up to the house, looking straight at the two females. Okay?
This is an adult riding, or you want?
That's different. Yeah, that's different. So,
can we get to the shoes and shirt? Yeah.
So it's like 2 or 3 different times. We went to the house, we left, the voice would tell me to turn around and we would go back. So each time we'd go back, there was something different going on. So it was kind of bizarre, honestly. So when we first went to the house, nobody was there. The 2 females pull up in the car, they get out, and they're not really looking around or anything like that. They're mostly standing in front of their vehicle, between their vehicle and where the shed is. I kept wanting to go up towards that way because I was wanting to get past the fence to look out in the field area behind there. And the more I'd walk up that way, the more, like I said, they would just start talking fast and not making no sense. Mom was over here looking in the ditch line. So I was just like, okay, well, I don't see Michael here anywhere. There's nobody home. And they say he left going towards Junction, so I guess we need to leave and go towards Junction, see if we see anything down that way. So we get in the car to leave. We start going towards Junction, and we get between past that house, there's a driveway, there's no driveway. Probably the first driveway down the road on the right. That voice comes back to me, and it says, turn around. So I looked at Mom and said, well, I don't know why, but we got to turn around. So I turn around right in the middle of the road. I go back. When we pull up in the driveway that time, the 2 females are still in the driveway, but now there's another car there, parked behind their car. And there was a person there that I knew. And I knew that they knew Michael because we had all gone to school together.
Is this a guy or a girl?
It's a male.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, I was kind of relieved to see that person because I thought, oh, thank God, somebody that I know. Because the other 2 females, I didn't know them. I knew of the one, but I didn't know her on a friend level. Nothing like that. The other one I'd never met before in my life. So this person, I was like, oh, finally somebody that I actually know, and can talk to. So I get out, and when I pull up behind him, he sees me. He instantly tries to get in his car and back out of the driveway, which he would have ran into my car in doing so. Okay, and I had my kids in the car.
Did he say anything when he did this, or you just see you in the boat?
When my car first pulled in the driveway, he didn't seem alarmed or nothing. When I got out of the car and he seen that it was me, he tried to get in his car and back out.
Oh.
And I said, whoa, wait. First of all, I didn't say this, but I'm thinking you're going to hit my car. My kids are in the car. But I'm like, whoa, I need to talk to you. I need to find out if you've seen Michael. So he got in. He was in his vehicle, and I was standing at the car talking to him through the car window. He had it rolled down. I said, did you see Michael out here? He's like, yeah, he was out here. And I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, good. So he's confirming that Michael actually was there. So I was like, well, do you know where he went when he left here? Did he say anything about where he was going? Who did he leave with? I'm trying to get information out of him. And Mom was talking to the females at the time. I don't know what they were talking about. And he was like, yeah. He said, well, he needed a ride to the store. I took him to the store so he could get cigarettes. And he said, then I brought him back here. And I was like, so you took him to the store. So you took him to Junction. He got cigarettes and a Mountain Dew, I think is what he said he got. You bring him back here. Then what happens? And he was like, well, then after that, he just left here walking. I was like, but did he say where he was going? And he said, well, he just left walking towards Junction. And I thought, okay, that don't make sense.
So he's walking toward Junction City.
Because it did not make any sense to me. Because if he had just gave Michael a ride to Junction to get cigarettes and Mountain Dew, why would Michael have him bring him back 2 miles, 3 miles away from Junction just to leave back out walking back towards Junction? That didn't make any kind of sense. So anyway, he said that, Michael was kind of acting up, that he was getting on his nerves, that he had spilled some Mountain Dew in his car, that he was kind of aggravated with him and stuff like that. So I kind of got the impression like he didn't really care where Michael had gone to at that point because he had spilled Mountain Dew in his car or whatever. So I was like, okay. So as I'm standing there talking to him, right, about this, the voice comes back to me again. And I could feel it, like right here. And it said, shake his hand. And I was just like, oh, why do I got to shake? I'm thinking this. I'm not speaking it out loud. I'm thinking, why do I have to shake his hand?
Hey, there's more to the story, so go download the next episode like the true crime fan that you are.
The Murder Police podcast is hosted by Wendy and David Lyons and was created to honor the lives of crime victims, so their names are never forgotten. It is produced, recorded, and edited by David Lyons. The Murder Police podcast can be found on your favorite Apple or Android podcast platform, as well as at murderpolicepodcast.com, where you will find show notes, transcripts, information about our presenters, and a link to the official Murder Police podcast merch store, where you can purchase a huge variety of Murder Police podcast swag. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is closed caption for those that are hearing impaired. Just search for the Murder Police podcast and you will find us. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more and give us 5 stars and a written review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. Make sure you set your player to automatically download new episodes so you get the new ones as soon as they drop. And please tell your friends. Lock it down, Judy.